The AI trade just cracked. Nvidia and semiconductor stocks led the market lower. The Nasdaq had the worst week in months. And under the surface, money is quietly rotating into completely different sectors. Now, is this a healthy pullback? Or is this the start of something bigger?
Welcome back to StockWatch. This week, AIs continue to plunge to the downside alongside semiconductors pulling down Nasdaq. Oil prices have surged on geopolitical tensions down in Iran, and investors are just starting to rotate into sectors like financials and energy. Should we expect AI and semiconductors to come back to life here, or is this the beginning of a bigger shift?
Now, tech and AI stocks really pulling back this week was the biggest theme of the week. The Nasdaq underperformed as AI names led the decline. Investors questioning whether AI valuations had simply gotten ahead of themselves after such a huge run, and if the stocks are genuinely sustainable, or if we've just been seeing this hype train inflate the prices on many AI tech stocks. So fear is present in the market, and we had seen on the previous day of trading within the indexes. And this past week, very tough week for the AI space. And seeing such a sharp decline had definitely caused tons of fear within the market. This week on the S&P 500, we've had a lot of condensed price action, condensing up towards these highs of 750, getting above that. And on the last day of trading, seeing a very drastic gap down in the market, trying to buy back up some of that, but obviously rejecting a good bit of that, defending this gap. Put stock in a very interesting position as the index was climbing up, really building up energy to potentially see a squeeze-like effect to these all-time highs. We had reversed the lower high trend, attempting to make lower highs, pressing up and kind of double topping on that previous high. So this now puts us in a position to either seeing the buyers buy back up, trying to fill this gap to start the week, or seeing the sellers defend this gap and push price further downwards. Definitely putting the overall stock market in a pretty interesting position. This was the statement the sellers needed to make to really shake some things up.
Nice breakdown, Ian. Yeah, now we're going to move toward QQQ for the Nasdaq. So obviously on the weekly time chart, we see a massive stretch of green candles just pushing to the upside. Market getting really euphoric on news that really wasn't even super true. The market kind of priced in the war being ended when it really wasn't. Although we're seeing some pretty nice price action leading into this consolidation, very nice movement up, right? Price consolidating. This is essentially just a bull flag structure, but over the last few weeks, Middle Eastern tensions have gotten worse and worse and worse, dropping to the downside. So as of right now, the question is, can stock price defend that 8-week consolidation off that massive movement up? That's going to make this consolidation a lot more volatile here, being that we had that very large went up here. So that volatility likely is going to step back into play here if we do break to the downside here or to the upside at your resistance at 745.68. So obviously a pretty bearish close to end the week, but the bulls haven't quite gave up that support level. On the daily time chart, you did see how we were squeezing out into a pennant structure of its own right here with these lower highs pressing to the downside. Also these higher lows here, okay guys? So we have broken down from that very tight coiling effect, drop into the downside here pretty aggressively from that, but there's still that rock solid support level exactly on stock price here. So until effectively exit this full pocket, just really tight energy, you can't be super confident to the up or the downside.
IWM's weekly chart is highlighting a very strong index. I mean, we've seen the breakout, retest, and continue break out of these highs roughly around that 268 to 270, reacting as support, and since then really pressing upwards, pressing that narrative, seeing a very small pullback given this really nice explosive uptrend. And IWM's really sustained its move quite well, now seeing a very small pullback given the majority of this movement. Now we do have that $300 psychological level holding up quite well. And that's what's really giving stock price some pressure here, giving the index a choice either to dump quite a bit, finding a bit of a pullback, or holding its position, defending these lows right here, roughly the top of this green candle, closing, defending. So from a weekly perspective, definitely nice little look here for IWM, really strong sector recently.
We're now going to move toward the StockWatch market rating, where we use news, technical analysis, and all the affected data to get an accurate forecast for what's the strength of the stock market heading into this week. So we do have a 4.5 for a neutral week here, slightly into the downside, mainly due to the Iran tensions. Stock price, QQQ, S&P 500, the major indexes and a lot of stocks are still holding strong support levels. But with the indecisive flush with Middle Eastern tensions here, also sector rotations, AI tech taking a hit. But with all that being said, the market historically pushes to the upside here, and stock price enters this week on a very core support level for S&P 500, QQQ, and a lot of the stocks across the market here. We're going to go with APLD to the upside. Now, this was a very clear, predictable drop for a head and shoulder structure here, a top out at that psychological $50 zone, continued to melt down. You melt 40, you melt 35. This thing's been very bearish, but we're down 50% in just a couple weeks time frame, exactly on that psychological $25 level, which is so familiar for APLD. How often we see these levels step up exactly the bottom here at $20 flat, psychological level, zooming back once again, $20 flat, 20, 30, 25, 35. These levels have been rock solid, and to see this much of a regression here, essentially a falling knife, really good chance we get some sort of a 1-2 day push up here entering this week, as long as you break over the highs of yesterday's action. The entry for this position, guys, is going to be over the high of yesterday's action at $26.50 approximately. At that point in time, you got a nice rally up towards 28, and the next target being 30. This is still a lot to prove, and obviously, the momentum is clearly to the downside here, but seeing a stock that is a good company with very, very, very aggressive investors here, zooming out on the weekly time chart, this is a very strong chance where we do form a higher low on a very strong ascending trendline profile. So a lot of indications to show that although it's been very dramatic, we should see a green week for APLD. A little bit of momentum coming into Monday here. I do like this for a 1 to 2 day hold to the upside.
Coming in with this prediction, we've got NEO short-term bearish. We do see NEO after a free fall into a bear flag textbook technical analysis pattern, leading to the downside. We are seeing some very well defended highs here, shutting NEO down right around that 510 to 515, shutting it down, seeing that double top effect mixed with this bear flag here. And now we're looking at a very key area of interest, potentially pulling us back down to that 446, which was in the past that double bottom spot, really bottoming out and leading to this breakout effect. Now we're seeing that sell off, bear flag. We are looking for right around an 8% movement at this point to the downside before seeing that bounce effect. So we do predict we will be getting some actionable bounce around that 446, but for now we do see a short-term bearish radar tingling here for NEO.
For the last setup, we do have ARM, guys. We have seen a very technical breakdown of a descending triangle structure, losing that core support, dropping down pretty comfortably here, almost $50, but ending Friday with a nice bar. You've seen a lot of semis here. You go down the line, NVIDIA, all these names are red, but ARM did close with almost a bullish engulfing here, flipping red to green with a clear gap to fill. I do like this one to press back up towards that $297 to $300 here. Now, this could be a classic break of support and a retest, but once again, very similar to APLD. There should be a 1-2 day bounce here. Now, not crazy over the setup, guys, but there's some things to like. Nice fill of the gap here in a really nice buy low spot to hop on this trend. Not a whole lot of setups coming in this week, but ARM does remain to be one of the stronger stocks to look at for a buy-in potential opportunity. What a crazy time to be in the market. Iran has put serious pressure on price action and likely will continue to until this ends. It's just the reality of the market right now, guys. We have to continue to adapt. Appreciate you guys once again. I will see you in the next video.